The strange signal appeared on Kate Lawson's monitor at 2:13 am. At first, she thought it was just another satellite or space debris, one of the countless objects she tracked during her overnight shifts at the New Mexico Space Observatory. But this was different. The signal pulsed with an unnatural rhythm that made her coffee-steadied hands pause over her keyboard. "That's not one of ours," she whispered to herself, adjusting her glasses. Kate had spent 7 years as NASA's lead signal analyst at the facility, and she knew every signature of every human-made object in space. This was something else entirely. She ran the standard protocols, checking for known patterns, but the computer returned no matches. The signal grew stronger by the minute. She reached for her phone and dialed her supervisor, Dr. Alan Bennett. He answered on the 4th ring, his voice thick with sleep. "Alan, you need to see this," Kate said without preamble. "I'm picking up something big at the edge of the solar system." "Asteroid," he mumbled. "No, it's broadcasting. Complex patterns, nothing natural." There was a pause, then the sound of rustling sheets. "I'll be there in 20 minutes. By sunrise, the observatory buzzed with activity. Government officials in dark suits spoke in hushed tones, while military personnel established a secure perimeter around the facility. Kate had been working nonstop, analyzing the increasingly complex signal patterns. General Frank Harris, a stern-faced man with close-cropped gray hair, leaned over her workstation. "So you're telling me these are artificial signals from beyond our solar system?" "Yes, sir," Kate replied, pointing to her screen. "And they're getting stronger because whatever's sending them is getting closer. Based on the signal propagation, I estimate at least 37 distinct sources, all moving together." Dr. Bennett nodded. "A fleet." The room fell silent. "Can you decode what they're saying?" the general asked. Kate shook her head. "We're trying, but it's completely alien. We've been running it through every decryption algorithm we have." Just then, another analyst rushed over. "Dr. Lawson, we got something." The computer identified repeating mathematical sequences that might be a translation key. Over the next 48 hours, Kate barely left her station. She slept on a cot they brought in, waking every few hours to check new results. Finally, on the 3rd day, the first translated message appeared on her screen. "We have deciphered portions of their transmission," Kate announced to the crowded room. "They call themselves the Vordari. They're requesting emergency assistance. Their ships are damaged." The general frowned. "Could be a trap." "I don't think so," Kate countered, scrolling through the data. "Their life support systems are failing. According to these readings, they've been traveling for decades and encountered some kind of nebula that damaged their ships. They detected our radio signals and diverted here." "How many of them are there?" asked a representative from the State Department. Kate studied the transmission data. "If I'm interpreting this correctly, they're carrying the last survivors of their civilization. Approximately 300,000 individuals spread across 37 vessels." Dr. Bennett let out a low whistle. "An entire species, looking to us for help." The President's National Security Advisor stepped forward. "The question is, do we help them? Can we help them?" Kate pulled up the final section of the translated message. "They're saying their primary systems will fail within 3 weeks. After that, they won't be able to sustain life support for their population." The room erupted in debate. Some argued for caution, others for immediate action. Kate remained silent, staring at the screen where the alien distress call continued to pulse steadily. Somewhere beyond Neptune, an entire civilization waited to see if humanity would answer their call. The White House Situation Room had never been so crowded. World leaders joined through secure video calls as military advisors, scientists, and diplomats filled every available seat. President Eleanor Ward sat at the head of the table, her expression grave as she listened to competing voices. "We cannot risk exposing Earth to unknown alien threats," General Harris insisted, pounding his fist on the table. "For all we know, this could be an invasion strategy." Dr. Bennett shook his head. The Vordari have been completely transparent. They've shared their ship schematics, biological data, and cultural information. They're desperate, not hostile. Kate Lawson stood near the digital display, showing the latest images of the damaged alien fleet. Their main reactor systems were heavily damaged when they passed through a radiation belt. Without repairs, life support will fail in 19 days. Even if we wanted to help, how could we possibly reach them in time? Asked the Chinese ambassador. They're beyond Neptune's orbit. A voice spoke up from the back of the room. We can do it. All heads turned to see a man in a Navy uniform standing confidently near the door. Lieutenant Jack Daniels, ma'am, he said, addressing the president. I've been studying the Vordari propulsion data. Their ships use a form of ion acceleration that's similar to prototypes we've been developing at the Naval Research Lab. The president gestured for him to continue. Jack stepped forward, his movements precise as he brought up technical schematics on the main screen. We can modify the experimental drive on the ISSC Pathfinder. By adapting elements of the Vordari technology they shared with us, we could reach their fleet in approximately 11 days. That still leaves little time for repairs, noted the Secretary of Defense. Which is why we'll bring everything we need with us, Jack replied. I've assembled a team of engineers who've analyzed the Vordari life support systems. We know what parts we need to fabricate. Kate looked at the lieutenant with new respect. Like her, he had clearly been working around the clock since first contact. The debate continued for hours. Risk assessment specialists painted worst-case scenarios while humanitarian experts argued for compassion. Military strategists worried about depleting Earth's resources, while scientists salivated at the technological exchange possibilities. Enough, President Ward finally said, silencing the room. We face a defining moment in human history. An intelligent species has reached out to us in their darkest hour. How we respond will reveal who we truly are. She stood, surveying the room. I am authorizing the mission. Lieutenant Daniels will lead the engineering team. Dr. Lawson will head scientific operations as our foremost expert on Vordari communications. Kate felt her heart race. She had expected to remain at the observatory, not to venture into space. Ma'am, she began, I'm not an astronaut. Neither was Neil Armstrong before NASA trained him. The president replied with a small smile. The Vordari know your signal pattern. They trust you. After the meeting, Jack approached Kate in the hallway. Looks like we'll be working together, he said, extending his hand. Your work decoding their language was brilliant. Kate shook his hand firmly. And your propulsion modifications are either genius or insanity. I haven't decided which. Jack laughed. A little of both, probably. We got 5 days before launch to figure it out. Over the next days, the mission came together with unprecedented speed. 50 specialists were selected, engineers, physicists, medical personnel, and military security. The world watched in awe as humanity prepared its first interspecies rescue mission. On launch day, Kate stood before the massive Pathfinder spacecraft, renamed Endeavour for the mission. Jack joined her, both now wearing the distinctive blue flight suits of the international crew. Scared? He asked quietly. Kate watched as the final supplies were loaded. Terrified, she admitted, but also excited. Jack finished for her, his eyes reflecting the same mix of emotions. We're about to make history. The Endeavour broke free of Earth's gravity with a thunderous roar. Inside the ship, the crew members braced against the force pushing them into their seats. Kate Lawson watched through a small viewport as her home planet shrank to a blue marble, then a distant speck. She had never been to space before today. First time's always intense, said Jack Daniels from the seat beside her. You doing okay? Kate nodded, unable to find words as the ship's experimental engines engage. There was a moment of strange pressure, then a sensation like falling through honey as the modified drive system activated. The stars outside smeared into lines of light. 5 days into their journey, the crew settled into a rhythm. The ship hummed with constant activity as everyone prepared for their encounter with the Vordari. In the main laboratory, Kate worked with communications specialist Olivia Green to improve their translation systems. Their language has 15 distinct tonal variations, Olivia explained, pointing to sound wave patterns on her screen. We've mapped most of them, but some cultural references still confuse the computer. Kate studied the Vordari language files. They keep mentioning something called the Great Migration. It seems important to understanding who they are. Across the ship, Jack and engineer Sam Wright modified equipment to work with alien technology. Sam, a brilliant problem solver with perpetually messy hair, had already improved their repair plan twice. If we reconfigure these power couplings, Sam said, sketching on a tablet, we can make our parts compatible with their systems. It'll buy the Vordari another month of life support even before the permanent repairs. Cultural Officer Ryan Murphy spent hours studying Vordari social structures. A former anthropologist with an easy smile, Ryan understood the importance of avoiding accidental offense. They organize in family units called clutches, he told the crew during a briefing. Status is determined by age and skill, not birth, and they find direct eye contact extremely uncomfortable. Dr. Peter Winters, the ship's medical officer, studied the alien biology data. The Vordari breathe nitrogen instead of oxygen, he explained. Their blood is copper-based, not iron like ours. We'll need to wear special suits when we board their vessels. On the 8th day, the ship encountered something strange. The lights dimmed as energy readings fluctuated wildly on the instruments. What's happening? Kate asked as the crew rushed to their stations. Navigation Officer Diane Russell frowned at her screens. We're passing through some kind of energy field. The Vordari mentioned this in their data packets. They call it a veil tier. Outside the viewports, space itself seemed to shimmer and bend. Colors no human had ever seen before flickered through the ship. Several crew members reported headaches and disorientation. Shields holding at 60%, reported Security Chief Eric Martinez, his fingers flying over his console. Whatever this is, it's similar to what damaged the Vordari fleet. Jack worked furiously with Sam to adjust the engines. Adjusting power distribution now. Everyone hold on. The ship lurched forward, then steadied as they pushed through the strange phenomenon. When it passed, the crew stared in wonder at their instruments. That's impossible, Sam whispered. What is it? Kate asked. According to our measurements, we just traveled 3 days' worth of distance in 14 minutes, Jack said, double-checking the readings. The phenomenon somehow accelerated us. Captain Lisa Rodriguez made an announcement over the ship's communications system. Attention all crew. Due to unexpected spatial conditions, we will reach the Vordari fleet in approximately 17 hours, much earlier than planned. All teams should accelerate preparations immediately. Kate looked at Jack, excitement and nervousness mixing in her stomach. We're not ready. No one's ever ready for first contact, Ryan said. Joining them at the viewport were distant points of light. The Vordari fleet were now barely visible. But they need us, and we're all they've got. The crew worked through the night, preparing equipment, reviewing protocols, and rehearsing first contact scenarios. No human had ever set foot on an alien vessel before. By this time tomorrow, they would make history, if they could overcome their fears and save a dying civilization. The Endeavour approached the Vordari fleet with cautious speed. Through the viewports, the crew could see the massive alien ships, each one shaped like an elongated teardrop with spiral patterns etched across hulls that shimmered with an iridescent blue-green finish. The central command vessel was nearly 3 times the size of Earth's largest aircraft carrier. Beautiful, Kate whispered as they drew near. Captain Rodriguez gave final instructions to the boarding team. Remember your training. Follow first contact protocols. No sudden movements. Maintain the distance their cultural guides specify, and let Dr. Lawson handle initial communications. Kate felt the weight of responsibility as she checked her specialized environment suit. The team of 12, including Jack, Ryan, Dr. Winters, Sam, and security officers, gathered in the airlock. The connecting tube extended from the Endeavour, attaching to the Vordari ship with a soft hiss of equalizing pressure. "Stay calm," Jack said quietly beside her. "We've practiced this." The inner door slid open, revealing a curved corridor lit by soft bluish lights. The air inside their helmets smelled slightly metallic from the special nitrogen mix they breathed. At the end of the corridor stood 3 Vordari. Kate's breath caught in her throat. The aliens were tall, nearly 7 feet, with slender bodies covered in fine scales that shifted color like oil on water. They had 4 arms, each ending in 7-fingered hands. Their faces featured large, dark eyes set wide apart, no visible nose, and small mouth openings that pulsed slightly as they breathed. Kate raised her hand in the greeting gesture they had practiced. "We come as friends, offering assistance," she said, the translation device on her suit converting her words into the musical tones of Vordari speech. The central alien stepped forward. Unlike the others, it wore elaborate bands of metal wrapped around its upper arms. "I am Zilnera, Fleet Commander," the alien's words translated through the human's earpieces. "Your journey across the void to help strangers is unexpected." Ryan had explained that Vordari speech often contained pauses as they selected precisely the right word. The alien's hesitation wasn't rudeness, but careful consideration. "We received your distress call," Kate replied. "Our people wish to help yours." The Vordari exchanged glances with subtle color changes rippling across their scales. "Follow," Zilnera said finally. They were led to a vast chamber where dozens of Vordari worked at curved consoles. The ceiling soared overhead, decorated with what appeared to be star maps. A group of what Kate recognized as Vordari officials waited for them. "These are the council representatives," Zilnera explained. "They did not believe humans would come." One council member stepped forward, scales flashing red along the edges. "Why risk yourselves for unknown beings? What payment do you seek?" Jack spoke before Kate could answer. "We don't need payment. Where we come from, helping others in danger is what we do." The translator struggled with his casual speech, but the sentiment got through. The council member's scales shifted to a softer blue. "We fled our homeworld when our sun began to die," another council member explained. "We have traveled for 63 of your years, searching for a habitable world. When we passed through the Light Nebula, our systems were damaged beyond our ability to repair." Dr. Winters asked permission to examine their medical facilities while Sam requested access to their engineering sections. The Vordari agreed, assigning guides to each group. Kate was introduced to Kexval, the fleet's chief scientist. Unlike the others, Kexval showed open curiosity, bombarding Kate with questions about Earth. "Your species breathes oxygen. Fascinating. Normally toxic to us." As Jack inspected the main reactor room with Sam, he noticed something odd about the damaged components. "These weren't all damaged by radiation," he whispered. "Some of these look deliberately sabotage." Meanwhile, Ryan discovered disturbing information while speaking with younger Vordari. "Not all of them wanted to contact us," he told Kate privately. "There's a faction that believes outside contact will destroy what remains of their culture." Kate's concern grew when she saw the true extent of the damage to life support. They've been sharing resources between ships, but 3 vessels are already running on emergency systems only. "We have less time than they told us." That night, as the human team returned to the Endeavour to report their findings, Kate looked back at the alien fleet through the viewport. "They're scared," she said softly, "just like we would be if our entire species was drifting through space, depending on strangers for survival." Jack nodded grimly. "And someone among them is afraid enough to sabotage their own ships rather than accept our help." The alarm blared through the Endeavour at 400 hours, jolting Kate from a restless sleep. She rushed to the bridge where Captain Rodriguez stood before a monitor displaying a massive solar flare erupting from a nearby star. "The star wasn't supposed to be active," Rodriguez explained, her face grim. "The radiation will hit both fleets in less than 6 hours." Jack arrived moments later, followed by the rest of the senior team. How bad? Sam Wright pointed to the energy readings. Bad enough to fry every electronic system on both fleets. The Vordari ships have almost no shielding left after their journey. Can we move the ships? Kate asked. Rodriguez shook her head. Not in time. The Vordari engines are offline during repairs. We need to warn them, Kate said, already moving toward communications. Within minutes, the human team was back aboard the Vordari command ship. Panic spread visibly among the aliens, their scales flashing alarming patterns of red and yellow as the news spread. Our radiation shields were damaged beyond repair in the nebula, Zilnaren explained, color draining from her scales. Without protection, my people will die. What about the Endeavor's shields? Kate asked Jack. He ran calculations on his tablet. Our shields can withstand the flare, but they can't cover more than our own ship. Maybe one Vordari vessel at most. Kexval joined them, bringing up a holographic display of the fleet. If we lose the command ship, all is lost. Perhaps you could save this vessel alone and abandon the rest. Kate asked, horrified. There must be another way. Jack stared at the schematic, then suddenly looked up. What if we combine technologies? The Vordari communication network links all ships, right? Kexval's scales flickered with interest. Yes, a quantum-entangled system. We could use that network to distribute a shield, Jack explained, growing excited. If we connect our shield generators to your communication array, we might extend protection to all ships simultaneously. Engineers from both species gathered quickly. Sam worked alongside Vordari technicians, adapting human technology to alien systems. The hours ticked by as they raced against time. Then Security Chief Eric Martinez burst into the engineering bay. We've got trouble. Someone's tampering with the shield connections. Across the fleet, newly installed systems began failing. Sabotage. The isolationists, Ryan explained. They've been planning this. They believe contamination from human culture will destroy what's left of Vordari civilization. Martinez organized a security team to protect the critical installations. I'll check the auxiliary control room, he volunteered, heading down a narrow corridor. Minutes later, they heard a commotion. Martinez had discovered 3 Vordari saboteurs redirecting power from the shield generators. In the confrontation, he was thrown against a wall, his suit punctured by a sharp tool. Kate rushed to help, finding Martinez gasping as his suit struggled to maintain pressure. Get him back to the Endeavor, she ordered 2 security officers. To Jack, she added, we're running out of time. With just 40 minutes before the radiation hit, Kate sought out Kexval. Your people need to understand we're trying to help. Who leads the isolationists? Kexval hesitated, then led Kate to a sealed chamber where an elderly Vordari sat surrounded by historical artifacts. This is Elder Mevrath. She preserves our cultural memory. Kate approached respectfully. Elder, I understand your fear. You've lost your homeworld. You fear losing your identity too. The elder's scales rippled slowly. 30,000 years of Vordari civilization. When species meet, the weaker one is absorbed. Or they become stronger together, Kate countered. Right now, we need each other to survive. Something in Kate's words reached the elder. After a moment, she touched a communication panel. This is Elder Mevrath. I ask all who follow the old ways to assist the humans. Our survival must come first. With the sabotage halted, Jack and Sam completed the shield integration with just minutes to spare. The Endeavor's engines strained as they channeled power through the Vordari communication network. Everyone brace, Jack called as the radiation wave hit. The shields flickered, a shimmering dome expanding to envelop all 37 Vordari ships. Systems overloaded. Circuits smoked. Engineers worked frantically to maintain the connection. And then it passed. The shields had held. On the command deck, humans and Vordari alike stood in stunned silence. Then a sound never before heard on a Vordari ship echoed through the chamber. The sound of alien celebration. "You saved us," Zilnera said simply, all four arms extended in a formal gesture of gratitude. The days following the solar flare marked a turning point in human-Vordarii relations. With the immediate danger past, both species began working together with new trust and understanding. The large central chamber of the Vordarii command ship had been converted into a shared workspace where humans and aliens collaborated on various projects. Kate observed the change with satisfaction as she entered the chamber. Where once there had been suspicion, now there was cooperation. Engineers from both species hunched over workstations, their differences forgotten as they solved problems together. "It's remarkable," Ryan said, joining her. 2 weeks ago, we didn't know they existed. Now we're rebuilding their fleet together." Kate nodded. "The Elder Council has officially welcomed human assistance. Even Mevrath is sharing cultural archives with our team." In the medical bay, Dr. Winters worked alongside Vordarii healers, studying a mysterious illness spreading among the younger aliens. The condition caused their scales to lose color and their energy levels to drop dangerously low. "It appears to be a nutrient deficiency," Dr. Winters explained to Kate when she visited. "Their food synthesis systems degraded during their journey. They'd been slowly starving without realizing it." A Vordarii healer named Tevalon demonstrated a scanning device. "Your human medical technology helped us identify the problem. We never thought to check our food synthesizers for molecular drift." Dr. Winters smiled. "And your biological knowledge is helping us understand cellular regeneration in ways we never imagined. The treatment we've developed together could help both our species." In the engineering section, Jack and Sam had become minor celebrities among the Vordarii. Their creative solutions to the fleet's propulsion problems impressed even the most experienced alien engineers. "Humans approach problems differently," explained Vordarii Chief Engineer Zell Moore, his scales shifting to an admiring blue-green. "Where we seek perfect solutions, they find workable ones quickly." Jack shrugged as he adjusted a power coupling. "We call it improvising. When something breaks on Earth, you either fix it with what you have or you stay broken." Sam nodded, pushing back his messy hair. "Your technology is more advanced, but sometimes simpler approaches work better." The Vordarii were particularly fascinated by human-computer programming. Their systems relied on biological components that had begun to degrade. Human binary code offered a more stable alternative for critical systems. "We've never considered using such basic mathematics for complex operations," Kexval told Kate as they watched Olivia Green install new navigation software. "It's elegantly primitive." Kate laughed. "I think we just got both complimented and insulted." Kexval's scales flashed in the pattern Kate now recognized as amusement. Both species have much to teach each other. The knowledge exchange went both ways. Vordarii energy generation techniques promised to revolutionize power production on Earth. Their understanding of gravitational fields suggested new possibilities for space travel. On the 20th day of their mission, the Vordarii Council summoned the human leadership team. Captain Rodriguez, Kate, Jack, and Ryan entered the ceremonial chamber where the entire council waited. "We have made a decision," announced Zilnera. "Our long journey was to find a new homeworld. We believe we have found one." A holographic display showed a star system not far from Earth, just 12 light-years away. "The third planet is uninhabited but suitable for our biology. With your assistance, our fleet can reach it within 6 months. We would like to establish permanent relations between our species," added another council member. "A friendship between worlds." Captain Rodriguez nodded diplomatically. "I'm sure Earth's leaders will welcome this opportunity." Later, as the human team returned to the Endeavor to send their report home, Kate paused to look out at the fleet. Where once she had seen damaged, dying ships, she now saw the beginning of something new. "We came to save them," she said quietly to Jack. "But I think they've given us just as much in return." Jack smiled. "That's the thing about helping others. You never know what you'll discover along the way." Across the fleet, lights that had been dim now shone brightly as systems came back online. Humanity had reached out to the stars and found not just aliens, but friends. Together, they had solved problems neither could have managed alone. And this was just the beginning. The Vordari command ship hummed with activity as final preparations were made for departure. After 6 weeks of intensive work, the alien fleet was ready to begin its journey to their new home. The massive vessels, once damaged and dim, now shone with restored energy as they formed up in perfect alignment. Inside the main gathering hall, humans and Vordari assembled for a formal farewell ceremony. The chamber had been decorated with symbols from both species. Earth's continents represented alongside Vordari constellation patterns that represented their lost homeworld. Kate stood beside Captain Rodriguez, watching as Vordari dignitaries entered in ceremonial dress. Their scales had been polished to maximum brilliance, reflecting the light in dazzling patterns. Jack joined them, looking uncomfortable in his formal uniform. "Never thought I'd be attending an alien diplomatic ceremony when we launched," he whispered. Kate smiled. "Never thought I'd be appointed Earth's first ambassador to another species either." The news of her appointment had arrived yesterday from Earth. After extensive discussions between world governments, Kate had been chosen to accompany the Vordari to their new home and establish the first human embassy there. Zilnera approached the center of the hall, her movement graceful despite the gravity adjustments. "Today marks the beginning of a new chapter for both our peoples," she announced, her translator conveying the words to the humans. "When we sent our distress call into the darkness, we had little hope. Now we depart not just with repaired ships, but with new allies." President Ward's image appeared on a large display screen, broadcast from Earth. "The people of Earth are honored to have played a part in your journey," she said. "This partnership between our species shows what is possible when we reach beyond our differences to find common ground." The ceremony continued with the exchange of gifts. The Vordari presented Earth with data crystals containing scientific knowledge spanning thousands of years. In return, humanity offered cultural archives, music, art, literature, and history from all Earth's civilizations. Then came the individual honors. Jack stepped forward as Zilnera placed a metallic band around his upper arm, a mark of honorary Vordari citizenship. "For your ingenuity in saving our fleet, we name you Friend of the Vordari," she announced. Similar honors went to Sam, Dr. Winters, and other key members of the mission. Ryan received special recognition for his work in bridging cultural differences. Even Eric Martinez, still recovering from his injuries, was honored via video link from the hospital ship that had rendezvoused with them last week. His actions against the saboteurs had earned him the highest Vordari recognition for courage. When the ceremony concluded, the time for final goodbyes arrived. Most of the human crew would return to Earth aboard the Endeavour. Only Kate and a small team of specialists would continue with the Vordari fleet. "Take care of yourself out there," Jack said, embracing Kate. "First human living in an alien society. That's quite a career change from signal analyst." Kate laughed. "I'll send regular reports. And don't forget, once the space station is built at the midpoint between our systems, you promise to visit." Earth had already begun construction on an international space station that would serve as a permanent meeting point between human and Vordari territories. Plans for trade, scientific cooperation, and cultural exchange were developing rapidly. Kexval approached, scales shifting in patterns that Kate now recognized as excitement. "It is time, Ambassador. The fleet launches in 20 minutes." As the Endeavour separated from the command ship, Kate watched from the observation deck as her former colleagues departed. The human vessel looked small against the massive Vordari fleet, but its presence had changed everything. The Vordari ships activated their newly repaired engines, creating a beautiful blue-green glow against the blackness of space. One by one, they accelerated toward their new home, carrying with them the hope of two species. On the bridge of the Endeavour, heading back to Earth, Captain Rodriguez watched the departing fleet on her view screen. "Send the final message," she ordered Communications Officer Olivia Green. "Safe journey, friends," Olivia transmitted. "Until we meet again." The response came moments later in Zilnera's now familiar voice. "Because of humanity, our people have a future. The stars once divided us. Now they connect us." As both ships moved in opposite directions, they carried the same message to their respective worlds, that in the vastness of space, compassion had built a bridge between stars. Humanity had answered a call for help, and in doing so had not only saved a civilization, but taken its first true step into a larger universe.